Welcome to Education and Safety. I'm Mike. We are taking the southbound trail off the boardwalk here in Red Rock, Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm looking north-northeast at the shark fin. Today's temperature is 50 degrees Fahrenheit, 5 to 15 miles an hour. Last night was 20 degrees Fahrenheit. In the Red Rock Canyons, Mount Charleston, 12,924 feet, got snow. So the shark fin. Some is melted, but it looks pretty good. Let's take a look. The shark fin, between 8,000 and 9,000 feet, swimming north-northeast. Swimming this direction. And as you can see, it is snow-capped. On the backside of the shark fin, it will hold its snow most likely for the rest of the season. What we're seeing is the south-facing part of the mountains, which are melting already today. Let's keep going. See what we can find. Now the question is this. This is the question that everybody always wants answered. Hiking, bushcraft, survival, and so forth. If you have a warm hat on, you don't have a pair of gloves, but you do have a warm jacket. You don't have long underwear, but you have a pair of socks. And you have a t-shirt, a regular shirt. Can you survive out here in the Red Rock Canyons during a below 32 degrees Fahrenheit night without fire? Let's say you have a pocket knife. We'll give yourself a pocket knife. Not necessarily a big one. You could have a small, little teeny pocket knife like a Leatherman, or you could even have perhaps a fold-out knife like a buck knife, which is a little bit bigger, 4 to 5 inches. So pretty interesting. And now as we start to gain some altitude, let's take a look at the shark fin once again. And there's the boardwalk. So the question is, finding a spot somewhere in the Red Rock Mountains already carved out from thousands of years old cave dwellers that were living in that area. As long as you find a cave that's not being occupied by another critter, coyote, wolf, perhaps even a mountain lion that just came down into this area. So you have to be extraordinarily careful of where you pick and setting yourself up. Now, if you don't have any fire, I'm sure you could survive the night. Water would be scarce, but there is spring water in the Red Spring, Hummingbird Spring here. Can you find water elsewhere? Perhaps. Should you boil it? Absolutely. But let's take a look now at a different angle of the shark fin. Pretty interesting. Fascinating area. Let's take a look at this area right over here. This looks interesting right here. Let's see if there's any critters hanging out in the desert. Let's see if there's any little critters hanging out in the weeds. I want to really get a good angle. Looks like there was some horses that came through here. So let's keep on meandering. Well, it doesn't take too much altitude to find a different perspective of this entire area. We just climbed up probably 200 steps, and let's take a look at the view now. Pretty neat. Pretty neat. That is Sharkfin Trail Pass, between the red and the gray, going up from left to right from the middle of your screen. And then if you want to go to the Sharkfin, you go around the back of that mountain in the valley. You don't climb that peak here, and then you come to the base of the Sharkfin, and then at that point you can go around the Sharkfin or around the back and end up on the top of the Sharkfin. From where I'm standing, probably a good 4.5 hours to get there. And behind those mountains is Mount Charleston. Now just that little altitude we went, winds are now 15 to 25 miles an hour. Temperatures are 15 degrees Fahrenheit colder. Easy up to 20 degrees. And the mountain is definitely being a mountain. Now, when you're walking up, you're always welcome to watch your steps, and also you might find some kind of interesting stone. There could be anything. Anything at all. Always something interesting. All right, so as you can see, we are headed south, and different types of mountains on the other side of this ridge. Let's go check it out. So as we climb here to this edge, you can see that they call that Rainbow Mountains in the background. These mountains right back in here, when the sun hits it, it makes a rainbow of red, gray, all types of tan colors. Really, really neat. That's called Rainbow Mountain in the background. Interesting. And as you can see, there's quite a few big boulders. Now this boulder right here, not recommended to stand on it, because eventually that's just going to fall over, and who's ever on it will be buried if no one sees it, never to be found. And so not smart to be standing on edges like that, especially after rains and water. Now if you want to take a hike, you can actually go over this canyon where we're at right here, go down in the valley, go around this whole mountain, all the way around this mountain, not the top, on the back side. Keep going, going and going and going. And out there, there's another mountain at the end of this mountain and the mountain behind that. And it'll overlook this entire valley right here. And that's a 4-hour hike just to get to there. So what I was saying was, behind me, the stripes in those rocks in the distance, they call that Rainbow Mountain. And the reason they call it rainbow is when the sun hits it, it's different stripes of gray, tan, red, really interesting colors. And when there's snow on the top, it's amazing. Now there's snow on the top, but the sun's not hitting it right now today. Now, if you hike from this distance from right here, and you go around this big mountain that is right at the base of the boardwalk, which is down below, down here, there is a park on the other side, a national park, where you pay to go in the road. Now, in about an hour and a half to 2 hours, you'll reach one of the roads. You'll see and hear cars way above you because you're down the valley when you hike around this mountain behind me. And the most important thing to understand is that there's different parking lots along the way going all the way out to the end of the paid parking, which is a national park. And if you have a national park pass, you can get in or pay. They also have museums that are out there. I haven't seen those yet, but I hear they're really interesting. And the other interesting thing is this. When you get to the very last parking lot, there is a trail that's treacherous without the right gear and so forth. It takes about 2 hours, 2.5 hours, 3 hours to get to the top of it, but you can hike to the back side of the shark fin, I was told. The way I was mentioning it, going this way, is a long way, and probably the more interesting way of seeing wildlife and coyotes and foxes and things like that. So you have to be prepared going up the shark fin pass, which is behind me in that direction. All right. Now, as you come out here, I do want to share this with you. This is very windy up here, okay? And you got to realize that this area here are very, very old canyons. And like I say, you can walk down through here and around that way. And it's a very, very long trip. Most people don't go there just because it's very desolate and no one really goes down that way. Now, the other aspect is, now I'm looking south across the entire Las Vegas Valley. And on the other side over there, that ridge of mountains, when you keep going almost to the peak behind this, in there is Boulder City. And Boulder City is just over that mountain ridge on the other side of the dark mountains that we're looking at in the far distance. That's where Boulder City is. And from where standing, from the city it takes 40 minutes. From here it's another 25. So it's probably an hour and 15 minutes to get from here to Boulder City. Maybe an hour and a half from standing exactly at this point right here, until you get to your car and drive all the way the distance and use the highway system. As we look this way, we're looking down towards the strip and the casinos, and I'll show a close-up of that. The shark fin, which right now has no contrast, so it almost blends into the mountain. So the question is, can you survive a night, 2 or 3, up here with just a walking stick, the clothes on your back, no water bottle, no food, if you know how to snare a jackrabbit and possibly create fire, which would be the key ingredient to survival. Water, you'll probably find some water if you dig around trees near the spring down there, Hummingbird Spring. You never know. But if you had a backpack of 3 or 4 or 5 liters of water and something to start a fire, it'd be no problem, because there's so many thousands of years old caves. They're not caves, they're just dwellings that were cut out of stone from the tribal people that lived here. And it's amazing. And the temperature now is probably dropped. Where I'm standing on the ridge with the wind, it feels like it's 35 degrees Fahrenheit. Probably, I'd say 35. So let's just talk about views and like beauty and like landscape. Coming over here around this cliff, there is amazing images that you can gather. But out of this entire Red Rock Valley, if I were to say where could you go to find the best images, I'm going to have to say going up Sharkfin Trail, Sharkfin Pass, and looking out that way. That's probably the most breathtaking areas that you could hike. Looking from these mountains down into Vegas, it's great. In the evening when the lights are shining, it's very, very bright and it's very interesting. But during the day, morning, noon, and night, I'm going to call Sharkfin Pass, Sharkfin Mountain, and the trail that takes you from where I'm standing, probably an hour and 15 minutes to get to the top of the Sharkfin Pass. And with the right weather and conditions, you would be astonished to the views. And as you've seen in some of my videos before, it is breathtaking. Just coming to this ridge right here where I'm standing is amazing, with the changing colors and so forth of that mountain. So let's keep going and see what we can find some wildlife. It's not going to be up here in the wind, it's going to be down in the valley. Here we go. So there are horses that come up here because there's a bunch of stables, horse stables around the valley below, and they come up here, and there is water down in that valley down there along the pathway up to the right and so forth. Now the mountains are changing with the sun sort of setting. It's about maybe 12 noon, 12:30 right now, and we're going to start to head back down and see what we can find. I'm going to go along the edge, but you can see how the tribal people, they lived right there where the springs were, and also in the sides over there. That's where they lived, along this whole ridge and all the way around the backside of the ridges, all the way up to the bottom of the shark fin. Those are the areas that they lived. And there is a green valley right where that red piece is. There's a big green area back in there that is like a Jurassic Park vegetation. Amazing. So as I was saying, all the tribes people lived in here, and it's still green. And then where that red valley is, behind that, there's a very, very lush stream, water flowing there all the time, spring water, and they lived in that area too, tremendously amounts of people. Now that was a sheltered area around there. This is somewhat sheltered here, but the other area over there is even more sheltered. And I would have guessed that one tribe would have lived here and another tribe would have lived over there. Familiar with each other, sort of cross paths, but not necessarily the same district, so forth and so on. Helped each other out, but they had their own people. All right, so we are going to take this path straight down to the boardwalk and around the boardwalk, and then we're just going to head straight out. And as you can see, the area now. All right, so we're going to talk about this hiking stick. Now, in my other filming, I put a clear polyurethane on it, and this particular hiking stick I never drilled a hole in, so this leather piece moves. So if my hands are slippery on it, okay, if I have rubber gloves, I grab this and it's in perfect shape. I can grab it anywhere and have traction. If I grab this leather, it helps, but the leather does slide. If I have a hole through this, then when I grab the leather, my hand won't slide. So the ultimate thing that you should be doing when you're hiking, believe it or not, is wearing a pair of gloves that are thin with rubber palms and fingers and so forth, and that'll make life so much easier, so that way you can barely touch it and have tons of grip. Other than that, it's extremely slippery and so forth. So those are some of the things that I wanted to share with you, and it's how you want to design it. Now if I use a little bit of the 3M glue and I put it on here, and then I wrap this leather around it. So if I put an inch wide of 3M glue, wrap the leather around it, I probably would not have to worry about drilling a hole in it to deal with that. Now also too, after a rain, all these rocks are all puffed up and slippery, so you got to be extremely careful when you climb down or climb up. Mostly climbing down is more dangerous than climbing up. So, because now if you fall, you're going to fall forward, which isn't good. If anything, you should fall backwards. Now when you're climbing up the hill, you fall into the mountain and you're fine. When you're climbing down the mountain, your feet go out. Sometimes you fall on your butt, but also sometimes it catches you off guard and tosses you forward, and then the momentum of your body going down hill becomes even worse. So that's why it's so important to be careful when you're climbing down a mountain. Look at all these boulders, amazing. Look at that. That is just amazing. And you can climb up diagonally up this mountain and sideways and eventually get to the peak over there. And just a different view, looking out that way and the different areas towards Mount Charleston and so forth. I'm not sure if you can see Mount Charleston from up there. I've never climbed to the peak of that particular mountain. So even though you can see people and so forth while you're climbing, I highly recommend that if you wanted to climb up that peak of that mountain, I would not do it by yourself, because if anything happens to you, no one down here is going to know that you're up there and you're hurt. So that's why it's important that if something happens, you're with somebody. That's really important. Even though that you might be able to look down, let's just say that you can't speak or you can't talk or you can't yell because of whatever reason. Now you're really in bad shape and no one knows where you are, so they're not going to know where to look. So that's why it's always important, if you're going to climb it into these sandstone mountains, to make sure that you go with at least one other person. Preferably 3 people is the best way to go. That way you have 2 people that can help someone if they did get hurt down, or even someone could go get help while the other person helps the other person out. So that's why 3 is pretty good of a good magic number for hiking. 4 is even better. And when I see all the hikers out here and the Sherpas hiking, they're always hiking in packs of like 10, 12, 15. So they all take their time, and others go up the mountain a little quicker, but they're all gonna make it to the top at whatever rate of speed that they're going. Some take more breaks than others. So let's just keep going. All right, so now we just made it to the boardwalk. And they actually show you a map of the boardwalk here, which is extremely interesting. I think a loop around the whole boardwalk is a half-mile long. And this is they call this Red Rock Canyon National Conservation Area. Okay, and they always say plan ahead and be prepared. Keep your visit safe and enjoyable. Those are their words, so they must know what they're talking about if they say those words. So let's get on the boardwalk and finish up our hike. There's a little gate here. So you open the gate, and the gate closes behind you. There you go. Here we go. Now, one of the things I heard when I was walking down from the mountain, I heard some frogs over here. So the reason there's frogs over here is because the temperature is conducive, because the water coming out of the mountain is like 55, so they don't have to hibernate. So I hear frogs over here all the time in the wintertime. It's amazing. I'm sure in Yellowstone National Park, where there's springs, they probably have frogs there too. Yes. Let's be quiet. That's pretty amazing that you can actually hear frogs out here in the middle of winter time, because the water is so warm coming out of the mountain. It's probably like 52 to 55 degrees. Pretty neat. That spring water from the Hummingbird Red Spring area, and it just soaks the area in the water, and they just like enjoy hanging out. And I'm sure they eat all kinds of little bugs that fly by, and because everything comes to drink there. And I'm not sure what type of frog it is, but I know that when we go out into that really lush area that's out in the mountains out here where I'm looking at, out that way, those frogs have a chirping festival like you wouldn't believe during the spring and summer and during different times of the year. It's amazing. Well, the sun is coming out now, and we're just getting now we're really getting some heat, and this is a really interesting area here. A lot of history in this area, and the tribes all used to live in here, and lots of tribes. I'm sure at one time there was potentially 100, 200, maybe 300 people living in this area. Possibly. For sure. Well, the boardwalk got a lot of rain just recently on it. So there must have been a rainstorm that came through. I don't see any wildlife out today. No birds yet at all. They're probably just relaxing and resting, waiting for a right time to come out, and then to get ready for nighttime coming soon. All right, we found a bird. There is a bird right there. How you doing today? You out foresting for seeds? Taking a little bit of sun on the branch? That's your favorite branch, isn't it? That is that bird's favorite branch. I saw that bird there before. He's gone. Now they're looking for little bugs and seeds. How you doing? Oh, he's gone again. Now he's on the railing, warming his feet up, getting a drink of water on the railing. His lucky day, right? He's like standing in it and drinking. enjoying himself in the sun. Lots of water melted on the railing. And he's gone. That is so neat. To be able to come out here 15 minutes away from the busy strip of Las Vegas, Nevada, and see 10,000-year-old sandstone carvings and caves and wildlife, and if you take another hour up and a half into there, you could possibly see coyotes, foxes, and be in the danger zone of a mountain lion. That's what I'm talking about. So there's places all over Earth that you can get yourself into great areas and really dangerous areas. So always be prepared. We see another bird here. This one's really cool looking. It's got whitish tip on the wings. Let's check them out. Now he came in for a visit just to clean up his beak, possibly get some seeds. Not just one flying by, saying hello. And the shark fin mountain is looking pretty good. Let's check it out real quick. All right, so we got some pretty much excitement going there. Now, if you really want to do something exciting, you could get in your car right now, get down to the strip. I think it's Planet Hollywood, somewhere in there. And there's a magic show. There's tons of magic shows, from $120 all the way down to $20 to $30. Lots and lots of magic shows all over the strip. And one that is really cool, which is sort of like the modern but old day magicians, but with fast pace. It's the magician's name is, trying to think, Nathan Burton, Planet Hollywood. Okay, his show packs out every time. I mean, if you don't get tickets early, you're probably not getting in. It's not a big theater, so every seat in the theater is amazing, and it's amazing. Now, if you want to go see something that's really amazing, and probably one of the oldest magicians in town still to this day is David Copperfield. He's over at the MGM. Once again, order tickets way ahead of time. He sells out super fast. His magic show is amazing, and something amazing. So, and there's plenty of other magicians out there that are amazing, but in means of, like, the oldest magician would be David Copperfield. The magician who has big props and stuff would be Nathan Burton. And then there's magicians in between that to do different things. You have to check out the website and check out for the magicians. All right, let's keep going. And if not, thanks for joining me today. All right, so that pretty much wraps up our hike here off the boardwalk. And so it is a new hike that we took today. We ended up on the boardwalk, and you never know. We just might head down towards the strip and take a walk around the strip. It's just amazing. I mean, in 25 minutes, I can get in my car right now and be at Mount Charleston, headed up towards Lee Canyon, the ski resort, and serious mountain to climb, 12,924 feet tall. Yeah, that's serious mountain. Yeah, and everything lives up there. Everything lives up in Mount Charleston. Coyotes, foxes, jackrabbits, squirrels, birds, hawks, mountain lions. Serious, serious, serious mountain. Highly recommend not doing it by yourself. Everybody says, don't worry about it. Well, worry about it. It's serious, okay? 3 or 4 people in a team with plenty of water for each person, hiking gear and everything. And remember, you're climbing to the top of Mount Charleston right now. Now there's snow on it, so now everything's super slippery. So that means you need crampons, you need special gear, everything. The mountain has just changed its attitude for anybody who wants to go climb it. So prior to it having snow, totally different. Once it has snow, that mountain has changed its attitude tremendously to fine and dandy to seriously dangerous. So other than that, you know, that's my advice. Or beware, or buyer beware, they say, when you go out there. So thanks for joining me today on Education and Safety. I'm Mike, and I am going to probably take a lot of my hiking sticks and drill a hole into them rather than use the glue, and start out with a 1/4 inch, and if I need to, I'll go to 3/4 of an 3/8 of an inch, and don't forget, I'm going to use the polymer inside that hole so that there's no moisture that gets in it. So that's the most important thing, to seal it, and then I'll probably rewrap it, go from there. Should have wore and took my gloves today. I didn't take my backpack or water with me, just did a real quick climb up here. So that's it. We're gonna get going. That's it. Thanks for joining me.